Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk episode 299. C10's in the Park, Waxahachie, Texas. The 9th annual coverage coming at you. I had a great time. I hope you enjoy the pod.
I wanted it classy looking, and as my buddy Roger Lee tells me, he said most of the vehicles we build look like redneck money. Big billet wheels, polished wheels, good stance, and we wanted it classed, and that's why we did the charcoal gray, which is a Navigator gray, and then the white interior, the bone white. I just thought my wife's a real pretty lady, I better say that, and it's a real pretty lady, and I thought it'd be great for a real pretty lady to be driving.
Damn, son.
Hey guys, let me tell you about LMC Truck. Keeping generations on the road. Think about that. It's pretty deep. So whether your truck was handed down or something you went out and bought, odds are you were handed a bunch of paperwork, maybe a folder. In that folder was probably the catalog. You know the one, the most up-to-date and detailed catalog available today. It's like an encyclopedia for our trucks. Their website is just as detailed and informative. lmctruck.com. lmctruck.com. So whether you're restoring old memories or creating new ones, LMC Truck is here to help. They're more than just a parts company. They truly understand the lifestyle and passion of owning a classic truck. So get out there and get to work on your truck and know that LMC is here to help. You can get online, lmctruck.com, and order your free catalog today. Keeping generations on the road. lmctruck.com.
Let me tell you what Melba Toast is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man is a television repairman. Got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth flapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Wedge.
What's up? What's up? A little Tejas style. C10's in the Park, Waxahachie, Texas. The 9th annual. Woo! Man, he sells that thing out in like 10 minutes. Full of trucks, people. I do like that party. It's a good party. Friday night, take over the parking lot. It's a parking lot party. And really chill. It's always fun. Kind of a high school atmosphere because you're just chilling in the park. There's really no like organizational events or anything. I should say parking lot, not just park. So yeah, they should call it C10's in the parking lot before C10's in the park. What do you think about that, Terry? Or C10's in the trailer park? All right, I digress. John, Oro, and I flew in, hung out, of course, hit Waffle House on Friday, hit Waffle House again on Saturday, and flew out Sunday morning very early. So, good times, great times, the people, the trucks. If you haven't made it to C10's in the Park 10-year, next year, make it happen. And remember, you don't have to drive out. If it's something that you can't make it out, get yourself a flight, get yourself a hotel, make it happen. C10's in the Park 10 years next year. So pretty cool. I think I got 7 or 8 interviews. The one that's really cool is the guys from Tejas Truck Syndicate, TTS. They found this Freedom machine. Actually, it was for sale here in Phoenix, and they're going to resurrect this thing. But I don't know if I do a good enough job. I think so, but explaining that there is not one body panel left on this thing that would be savable, really. So it is cool because it's a 76 Freedom machine. I think they'll get it done at the 50-year bicentennial. So kudos to them. But all in all, great to meet new people. Great to see old friends. Drink some beers. Have a good time. Little hot. I would say for September, for Texas, it was just a tad hotter than normal. But I think that seems to be the thing going on, right? Where you're just chasing some weather. Good trucks, great people, and you know the story, right? The trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. So let's see. C10 Fall Revival is in October. That's coming up in North Carolina. I know that's the big one coming up. I think there's another one October 5th. C10's at the river. And then you got Dino's coming up. And that's like the 16th. So 15th and 16th of November. I think some folks are out in Texas again this weekend for a Good Guys event. So hopefully everybody's having a good time. You're safe, you're happy, and you're enjoying this great weather cruising your truck. Let's jump into 299. I do have 300 scheduled with AZ High Test, Jason Berlin tomorrow. We are going to go over to the shop, Arizona High Test, sit down, and I've got Grinders going to film that. So we'll put that one on the YouTubes and have a good time with that one. Crazy to think that we hit on Monday our 10-year anniversary. So it kind of coincides. We've got 10-year anniversary of C10 Talk and, almost 300 episodes. So when I dropped episode 1, I think with Dino, I think that was like mid-October. So either way, it's all just kind of runs together. But we're coming up on episode 300 and 10 years of me blabbing and talking about trucks. So it is crazy. It's just surreal to think that a lot of cool guests, a lot of information, and a lot of good times. So with that, enjoy 299. More great trucks, more great people. And I'll be back with episode 300, AZ High Test, Jason Berlin. C10's in the Park 2024, the 9th annual. I got Nick out of Kansas, working my way to the back. You know how we do. And you know what? It just takes something to stop me in my tracks. Tried to give you a little Good Guys love to get you down on the square, and somebody already got you. Rightfully so. Less is more. You took what they gave us, and you put your spin on it. Nick, tell us about your truck.
So it's a 67 CST cab. Originally it was a long bed cab, the truck that we cut down to a short bed. Just kept it simple and clean, low. Coil-over suspension, tubular A-arms, L83, 6L80 transmission. Just wanted a clean, smooth driver that took the original lines and amplified them.
Were you looking for a 67, 68? When you think about everything that you went through, you could have picked any truck from, obviously 67 all the way up to 72. What were you looking for, and was it hard to figure it all out?
No, 67, 68 fan from the start. 67 grill, of course, 68 side markers. A lot of people aren't fans of them, but we like them. Frenched them in to give it a nice, smooth, clean look. 67 side trim, just that style, and the trim and details that they put in the 67, 68 and the slant back hood just is what draws us to that year.
Yeah, it's funny. I always kind of laugh and think back in the day, maybe 30 years ago, 71 and 72 were the kings, but 67, 68 in that 67 to 72 has kind of taken over. People really like that look. I love that you went with the two-tone as well. White on the bottom, white on top. You got the medium olive. I felt like the medium olive probably had a little sauce in there because it has a little sparkle. How long ago did you paint this?
So this truck was actually finished back in May, right before C10 Nationals down here in Texas, where it won 67, 69 C10 Truck of the Year. So we've only been painted less than 6 months.
Oh, it definitely pops in. I didn't know you had that hardware, so congrats. Okay, so you decide that you're going to take a long bed and you're going to shorten it. Did you keep the stock chassis, or did you already have another short bed chassis, or what did you do to modify?
So this is actually the stock chassis that's been shortened down. My brother actually shortened it. He owned the truck first and shortened the chassis, and then I bought it from him and took over and converted everything over to coilovers and tubular stuff and went from there.
What was your hardest part on the build?
Hardest part of the build was probably the wood floor. It's a hickory wood floor that we took the base stain and the base of the truck and used as a stain to get that green in there. And then the body guy, it's actually overlaid the metal floor, and then we finished out the inside of it. So I would say the hardest part of the build for me was probably that wood floor that we built.
Going with the coilovers, Did you contemplate raising your bed floor at all for some clearance? You've got the full depth. And it's funny because I feel a little bit like a broken record when I do see a full depth truck. It's something that we don't see quite as much anymore. You see guys usually lift up their inner tubs a little bit. Is that something you kind of thought about, or you just said, hey, I want to keep it stock?
No, we wanted to keep the stock floor, stock appearance inside and out, and just really modify and up-tune the chassis and the motor and tranny and really keep it a stock appearance from the outside.
Well, what's so cool about your retro mod truck is that you've taken the best of both worlds, right? You have modern drivetrain, thing will, go coast to coast if you want it to, and do it all in style.
Yeah, for sure. We wanted something that we could get in and drive and cruise at 80 mile an hour with the AC blowing and not worry about it, but not take away from the styling lines and appearance that Chevrolet did back in the late 60s.
One thing you did that I would say that I like, I wonder if you struggled with it at all, but you went with the Koi CSTs for the audience, kind of like a Dell, if you think about a CST full cover cap, but you went with a square body, which is going to be your 73 ochre yellow instead of a blue, which your truck would have had the blue. I like that you went with the ochre Spanish gold because it pops off that medium olive. Is that something that you kind of work through, or you're like, no, I know that I want that yellow to go with that green?
So, we originally had some 22-inch Riddlers on here when we started the build, and when Koi came out with this wheel last fall, we eventually said we got to switch directions, and knowing the truck was going to go green, it was no doubt the yellow is what it needed to be. The blue just wasn't going to work with the color combo.
Well, and another thing that I see that you did that really, again, it's such a small little thing, but you went with the CST and you went with the white wall, and that little skinny white wall is, again, something that just adds to the heritage, the legacy of this truck and that style.
Oh, for sure. We kind of talk. We got a guy that helps me back in Wichita, Ryan James, on a lot of my builds, and we talked here last week as we're building the 71 K5 Blazer, and he amplified what my build style is: simple and clean, true to what the originally came from GM, and that's what this is. It's just simple and clean and true to what GM built.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to mess with it, right? We can take a little bit of cues here and there, like you've got the Snowden seat, you've got an upgraded classic instrument gauges, vintage air, retro mod type stereo, so you've got a little bit of the creature comforts that we love, but you've kept the basic styling really all together. Is this a hobby for you? Is this something that you do?
No, this is a hobby for me, and this build here, we started this build, and then actually Ryan James out of Wichita owns RJ's Custom Works, finished the build for us, paint, body, and final assembly, and got it running. Just because of time's sake, we were in the middle of building the house. He's a trusted friend, great body guy, and he just put it over the top for us at the end.
Is there a part that, as you go through with RJ's Customs, and is there like a part, a company, something that you think, hey, I'd want the audience to know that, Eddie Motorsports or Koi's or whatever brakes, whatever it is, I had nothing but success, and I love that I went with that when they have those options?
Oh, yeah. So CPP, we've got full CCP chassis as far as controlling arms, rear trailing arms, coilovers, brake system, power steering system, Hydro Boost. CPP's been great through the whole system. We had some problems with the Hydro Boost right before C10 Nationals. They overnighted a part to us. We got it working, got it fixed, got it taken care of. Koi's Wheels has been great on the wheels. We do have some Eddie Motorsports, products on here as well. But, Snowden was great with our seat and shipped some extra material to cover other stuff. So everybody we've worked with through the build has just been top notch.
Well, and that's such a refreshing thing to hear, because we all struggle with not only making the right decisions, you're spending all your money, you want to make the right decisions, to know that you're working with companies that are going to support you, they got your back, they give you that little extra, a little customer service at the end. When you think about it, what's your favorite part about the truck?
My favorite part about the truck is the paint, hands down. That green and white, when you get it out in the sun, especially in this Texas sun, it just has a certain pop to it, and that green is just hands down what makes the truck for me.
Obviously, when I came up, the same thing. I see the color, I see the stance. The two-tone, I'm definitely drawn into the two-tone. Somebody already beat me to it to give you one of the good guys passes, so there's got to be a formula. You won at the previous shows at the C10 Nationals. When you're sitting behind your truck, people are coming up to it. What's your sense when people see it?
You know, the one word that comes out of everybody's mouth is simple and clean, and that's what the truck is. It's just simple and clean. We didn't want an over-the-top build as far as, you know, a bunch of billet, a bunch of extras, big wheels and all that stuff. We just wanted something simple and clean, and that's what draws everybody's attention to it, I think.
Well, and less is more, right? It makes it a little bit more reliable. You can drive it a lot. Because you went with the coilovers, is this something you're going to, not necessarily race, but maybe autocross, or did you just want that overall handling?
No, I just want something that overall handled well going down the highway. You know, I want to be able to get on the highway and drive it. I'm not a big, you know, autocross, drag race, or anything like that. It's stuff to cruise, and it gives it the right ride.
If you could change one thing, not necessarily, hey, I made a mistake, but I just kind of, you know, if I did it over, there's always something. Is there anything major that you would do different?
The only thing I'd probably do different going forward is I'd probably would have bought a frame for it as opposed to cutting this one and narrowing or you know, shortening it. Not that I regret doing it, but definitely would have bought a full frame and still went coilovers, but done a full frame on it.
Well, and I've got the same situation with Orange Slice, which is my truck. And the funny thing about that is whether you realized it or not, but this thing ended up being so just it's so nice. It's such a really nice truck. And it's one of those things where whether you realized it or not, and I don't mean this negative, but having a stock cut frame, you're kind of like, man, I really kind of did the work. I really wish I would have just either found a stock short bed, you know, 67 to 72 frame, or even just maybe ponied up a little bit more and got that aftermarket chassis.
Yeah, you know, and probably had my brother not already cut the frame when I bought the truck from him, we probably would have went an aftermarket chassis, but he had really already done the majority of the hard part and got it trued and straight, and, you know, there was no reason for me to go backwards from there.
Yeah, I get it. What's your brother's name?
Brother's name's Jeremy.
Thanks a lot, Jeremy. God damn it. All right, so from Kansas, you're going to be at this town square tonight. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on, you know, getting this truck done, getting it out. What's your plans for 2025?
We're going to try to do Lone Star, you know, throw down in February. That's one goal. And then
did you submit already for LST?
Yes, we did.
And you got in?
Yeah, I just haven't checked my email lately.
All right, I think you're going to get in. So we appreciate your time, and no social. You got one, you just don't really use it.
Yeah, I just don't use it.
I'll go walk around and get you guys some pics. Appreciate your time, brother.
Thank you.
What's up, what's up? Working our way. We got some shade, and I got a little stepper. So got a 69 stepper, and steppers need love. Mitchell, tell us about this truck, brother.
So this truck originally started off as a AAA rental truck. You can kind of see there's a AAA sticker on the dash that says fasten your seatbelts. There's some little tire pressure stickers from when it used to get rented out originally. It ended up getting sold to a family that drove it for years, left it on a farm. Literally, this thing got dug out of the dirt by Classic Industries. They pulled it out. It got a little bit of love from them, sold to a guy named Chris. He did quite a bit to it, and then I got it from Chris, and I had to put my finishing touches on it.
Well, when you got it from Chris, is it one of those things where Chris is your buddy, and you're like, dude, I gotta have the stepper, or how did you come across it?
I found it on Craigslist about 7 years ago.
Not Chris list, Craigslist.
Craigslist, yeah.
Chris was selling it.
Chris was selling it. All right. It's a pretty well-known truck. This truck's been to C10's at the park pretty much every year. There's only been 1 year with COVID that we weren't able to make it out, but it's been out.
Is it a Texas truck?
It is a Texas truck.
Okay. So Texas truck, it's got transports. It's what I would call medium blue, or is it maybe it's more about baby blue. Yeah. And then you got C10 badges on the side. You've got some OG hubcaps. What else have you done to this truck? And then again, the air management, is it on a stock chassis? And then what?
It's a stock frame. Stock frame. It's got a locking limited slip in the rear. When I got the truck, it already had a 5.3 in it. I can't leave anything alone, so I yanked the 5.3 out. I bought a 2013 Escalade motor, stripped it down, rebuilt it, threw a huge cam in it, and then swapped it back into here. It is still running on the Gen 3 PCM, so it's still
is it a 4L80?
4L60.
Okay.
I've been waiting for it to go, and it hasn't let me stranded yet, so it's still holding strong.
So the one thing is, because you're bagged, you're on 22s, you're tucked, but there's maybe a C notch, but there's not like a ladder notch. You're still running stock depth on your stepper.
It's on 20s. It does have a small notch, but it's not.
What do you mean on 20s? Okay, so it's on 20s, and then he's running, let's see here, looking at the tire somewhere on here. He's running 245 40 R20s. Got a little bit of meat, not much, almost perfect. And you C-notched it, but you didn't have to do a big step notch.
Yeah. It's actually on I believe 275s in the rear and then 245s in the front. Small notch. It is basically as low as it will currently go right now.
You run a bump stop like a 1-inch, or does it tap the metal to metal?
It'll tap metal to metal.
All right.
So try and keep it a decent ride height for cruising around on the street, and when I park it, it doesn't really matter if it touches.
Well, the key with this truck is there's so much patina and character on it. Is that why you had to have it?
Yeah. For me, I really wanted a patina truck. I knew if I got a nice painted truck that I would never use it as a pickup. I've hauled couches, TVs, furniture. We moved shops for work not too long ago. I use my truck to load it up full of shop equipment and bring it to the new shop down the road.
What air management are you running?
So it's basically a whole piece together kit. Chris, the guy that I had got it, he had already done some of the air ride stuff and had nothing but issues with some of the fittings on it. But it's basically all custom pieces.
So more of like a couple valves, a 5-gallon metal tank, and then you're running like 2 valves, or you're running 4, or are you running up and down, front and rear?
It'll be up and down, front and rear. So it does have 4 switches.
Okay.
So you can adjust each wheel independently, up and down. But it's just it's an easy go air ride controller. The bags weren't theirs. All the fittings were all ordered separately. It's on a Vivair 444C compressor. I've had to replace that not too long ago, but
Radio delete, which is always nice. Looks like he's running classic instrument gauges. He's got, okay, I see your air switches now. So he's got a little manifold that he built. He's got a low-car style floor shifter to go with that automatic transmission. Any paint work done on the interior? Because that looks so good in there.
No, absolutely not. There's no paint repair, no body repair. There's been nothing on it.
The original wood floor still?
No, it did get redone. So Chris had actually redone the bed. It's all reclaimed barn wood.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like it looks literally original. It still has the fade. Looks like you might even have taken it, or Chris did, on Power Tour?
Chris did. I would have loved to, but I unfortunately get stuck at work pretty often.
Yeah, that real job shit will get in the way.
Yeah.
What's next? What would you want to do if you could do something to it?
I really want to do a full frame. That way I can actually air it all the way out, but it's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, and I get it, right? I mean, I just think like this truck, and you don't sound like a guy who's going to keep it forever, but just meaning you like you talked about, you kind of import some stuff, so there's always something going on.
Yeah.
But boy, are you ever going to find a truck that's this cool and this much patina and this style, and everything really is pretty straight. Like even if it was a rental style, I mean, there's not any body damage, and if there is, this thing is such a perfect shape that it has its original character, and you can drive the madness out of it.
Yeah, and I do. I do not drive this thing nicely. I'm tearing around every corner and whomping on it, and I beat it up.
So if I said, hey, you got a gift card for a chassis, what chassis? I just wonder. I have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
What chassis would you go with in your mind?
Probably GSI.
Okay.
Everything I see from them looks to be top notch.
Sure. So you'd get a GSI chassis. Would you go coil, or would you go full air management?
I'd still leave it on air management.
All right, good. So pop this hood. Let's check this motor out. He's got a 5.3 swap in here. Love the grill, love the color. Really, just a stunning truck. I mean, the color on the patina on this thing is a stunner. He's got pretty much every C10's in the trailer park sticker. Got to get some inners on there someday.
Yeah.
Some sloshers.
Some tubs would be cool.
You did some aftermarket air.
I did install a vintage air AC kit. It does have a radio too, but it's a hidden Bluetooth amp.
Oh, okay, so you put a delete. I didn't see the antenna, so it does have an antenna, and then they put a delete cover over it. So that's cool though. But look at that firewall, dude. I mean, besides a few little spots, the firewall is just mint.
Yeah.
And then it looks like a CPP booster with some upgrades there.
Yep. Yeah, it's also running their front disc brake conversion.
And then a 2.5-inch module spindle probably.
Yep, and tubular arms.
How's that running? Riding good?
It'll do 85 down the highway with no issues.
What alternator? You got a little guy on there. That doesn't look like a stock.
It would have been a 5.3 alternator from a Gen 3. So it's either, I believe, 110 or 140 amp.
How about your radiator and fans?
Honestly, I don't even know what they came out of.
He's got a little bit like maybe a 2-core with a 1 single fan pulling. He's got his vintage air delete. I love the mirrors. You got the 68, 7 to 9 mirrors, the long ones. It's just a stunner. I really love it. I love how you put the wood on the side, kind of a bed guard, if you will, and everything about it. So besides chassis, you're just going to drive the shit out of it, or what?
Yeah, I plan on just driving the shit out of it.
Do you wash it? Do you put any like sweet sauce on it? Do you give it, what's the routine? Just drive it and every now and then rinse it off?
Drive it, rinse it off maybe once a year before C10's at the park, and I give the chrome a good polish about once a year. I drive it. I actually daily drove this truck for about 3 years. I don't drive it quite as often as I used to now, but...
Do you have a name for it?
I haven't named it.
Does the guy Chris ever hit you back and go, hey, I want it back?
He did. I've had a lot of people. I get stopped almost every time I drive this truck. But he did message me not too long ago. He was looking for another truck to build and wanted to know if he could get the body back. It's irreplaceable.
All right, we just came up with a name, Not For Sale. The Not For Sale Stepper. Love the truck, Mitchell. What's your social?
My Instagram will be Allmoda Miata, and it'll be ALLMOTA
Moda?
Yeah, Moda.
So Allmoda Miata.
Yep.
That's it. No underscores or nothing?
Nope.
And then that's because you do a lot of import stuff?
Yeah, I got a bunch of Miatas, and I deal with JDM imports, so I bring cars from Japan.
Okay, cool. So if you guys need an import from Japan, you hit up Mitchell. Allmoda, MOTA Miata. Got it. Love your truck, bro.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. What's up, guys? Who doesn't like to bundle and save? The team at UP Car Parts knows this, and they put together 7 different bundles for you to choose from to save up to 20% off of your lighting. From headlights to taillights to marker lights, UP Car Parts got you covered. upcarparts.com. Save up to 20% today.
Need C10 parts? Well, here at Pro, we actually have trucks. We build them, we drive them, and we deal with them every day. It's just part of who we are. We carry the best products for your truck project from the major name brands such as QA1, React, Painless, Dakota, Beltec, Borgeson, Bear, and even more. Give us a call or check us out on the web.
You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com.
All right. We got a little music in the background. We'll see how this does, but we're in the Arkansas corner over here. We got Razorbacks. We got all kinds of Arkansas trucks. You guys do it up, Matt. So we got Matt Lowry. Beautiful 1987. Love this truck. Love this stance. Tell us about your truck, brother.
Yeah, so I was a couple years ago looking for a really clean, low-mileage truck and found this one just north of us in Joplin, Missouri. It's a 60,000-mile truck. It's been repainted once before, but basically bought it. Did suspension, wheels, tires on it. Drivetrain's bone stock, interior's bone stock, but just a really good cruiser.
So when you find a truck like this, so you obviously were looking for a low-mile truck. Were you looking for a certain year, or were you like, hey, I just want something clean?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted an 81 to 87, okay. Preferably 85 to 87 because I like the grills, but just anything in that year range, that's clean. So
you found one, but here's my big question is, when you find something that's like this, that's unmolested, where do you draw the line? Where do you take so much modern and you're like, well, this wheel, and then do I want to redo the interior, and do I put an LS in it? So where do you break that down? Does it come to budget? Does it come to, hey, I'm a purist, I just want to kind of leave what was there?
Yeah, to me, it was kind of what you're forced to replace is what I worked on. Not that I was forced to replace the suspension, but I knew I wanted the stance and better brakes on it. Drivetrain's been pretty solid and bulletproof, so I haven't had to do anything much with it. But I kind of just had a plan and kind of stuck to it, and luckily didn't have to replace any drivetrain stuff. So got pretty lucky with it.
And what was your thought on, and how did you go about getting that stance? What did you? It looks like it's C-notched. Is it C-notched?
Yeah, so it's notched. I've built a couple of trucks before, so I kind of knew what was going to be needed. I did want a pretty tall tire in the back, kind of meaty tire because it's a square body. But so it's C-notched in the back. It's got a flip kit and 3-inch D-arch leaf springs in the front. And then it's got a Detroit Speed kit in the front with like their aluminum kind of spindle and pretty kind of cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, square bodies, like the recipe is pretty solid on them. I deviated a little bit on that, but yeah, you don't have to put a whole lot of thought in.
You nailed it, right? So a slope nose too. I mean, you give it a little rake, you go back to that style. This effing tailgate is about as straight as I've ever seen. Obviously, being a low mile truck, you went with Hillebrand wheels, and you're right, you got a lot of meat. I'm assuming it's like a 305. I'm looking
295/45.
Okay, 295/45 in the rear, and then what, like a 245 up front?
Yeah, 245, 40, I think, 19 in the front. A lot of guys run 20s in the front. I decided to go at 19, just kind of do a little more big and little look to it. But
19 and a 20, and then you got some meat in the back. Interior, it does look like at one point it's got a repaint because it's so. I could tell like it's a little thicker.
Yeah, I mean it's slicker than what they came from the factory, so it's been body worked. I mean the paint's probably.
Did you do that?
No. It was probably painted 15 years ago, but still shows really well. So.
Is this a one owner, two owner?
It was a 1 owner truck, so some guy had it. Older gentleman passed away, and I bought it from his son that got it through the estate. So.
What would you do if you could change anything? If I said, here's 25 grand, you've got your truck, I need you to keep your truck, what would you do?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know.
You don't have to. I mean, you could say, no, you know what, I wouldn't change a fucking thing. I love this truck.
Yeah, I think I've got it dialed in to where I wouldn't want to do anything with it.
What exhaust are you running?
It's actually the stock exhaust. It's just been cut at the axle. That's probably about the last thing I need to do with it, build a stainless exhaust. But
well, here's my thought. Is I see the truck, and it comes with an attitude because of the wheels, your Hildebrands, and the black paint, and a little bit of the stance. So I think when you go back to that 1987, and you think about, like, for me, we're probably about the same age, like class of 91, 92, you get a little rumble. So that would be the only reason why I would say make it a little throaty. But you're dealing with the original 5.7 fuel injection.
Yeah, and personally for me, I've got some other trucks I'm building that are full builds, and so I kind of wanted to just keep something that my son and I can hop in at any time, go to truck shows, and not have something that turns into a project. So,
how about keeping this thing clean?
I mean, it stays in the garage, so wintertime, like from November to probably March, it's covered, which, I mean, it's just I don't drive it in the winter, so but it's black, so it's a pain to keep clean. But I mean, I even had to clean it like as we were parked trying to get in the gate because stuff was coming out of the trees and like sap, and I was like, what the crap's going on? But yeah, so I've got a couple of black vehicles, so I know what I was after for keeping it clean. But yeah,
he's got black on black with the black interior, and obviously the chrome bumpers, chrome wheels. Love the formula. It is funny because I think even like me saying, here's some money, what would you do?
I'd go buy another truck.
Well, it does, right? That's why I kind of said you got to keep this one. Yeah. But what happens is we tend to, by adding more, you do create a little bit more problems potentially. Whereas this, you're like, hey, Ronnie, this thing is an 87. It's tried and true.
Yeah.
I don't need to change anything. And you know what? 30, 40 years from now, this thing will still be tried and true.
Yeah, I mean, it's dead nuts reliable. It's got slosh tubs in the front, so nothing rubs, nothing hits. You can take corners as fast as you want to go, and like it's bulletproof. So
shameless plug for another Arkansas company, another Arkansas man. He's got the slosh tubs. Matt, love your truck, love your style. Do you have a name for this thing?
No, I don't name stuff. I mean, we just around the house.
The black truck?
Yeah, I mean, this is really the only C10 I have. I've got some older stuff and a Blazer, so we just call it the C10 around the house. But
it works. All right, so your social, Matt Lowry, but the L is a 1?
Yeah, so Instagram, Lowry, no L with a 1.
And it's just Lowry.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's so no underscores, no nothing.
Yeah.
So replace the L with a 1.
Yep.
So one-ary.
Yeah. One-ary.
Number 1-ary. Check him out. Appreciate your time, Matt. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for taking your time to be on C10 Talk.
Appreciate it, Ronnie. Thanks.
All right, we got the old guy here, Kenny F. and Davis from KD Hot Rods. Kenny Davis, another Arkansas. Like I told you,
Arkansas.
We're over here in the Arkansas corner. We got slosh tub. You should have a slosh tub sign over here. Kenny, this is
one of the wickedest trucks. I don't even know why you got it over here in the Arkansas corner, but this is a stunner. What's the story with this truck?
It's just a real nice 67 C10. We actually built it for my wife, and one of our customers come in we were going to build a truck for. He was like, dude, I'd really like that one. And I said, it's not for sale. And he says, everything's for sale. And by God, he's right. Everything was for sale. So we built it. It's Jason Williams owns it out of Four Wheel Concepts, Bentonville, Arkansas. It's a 67. It's all Porter-built underneath, Willwood brakes, billet specialties on this one. It's got a 6-liter LS3 crate motor, a 4L60 in it, 9-inch rear. It's your typical C10 LS truck, man. It's really nice, really fun. James Carter did the interior, and it's got a bitch and stitching white leather interior, white and black, and just a real fun truck.
Well, I hate to disagree, but it's not just, because it's definitely, I love your stance. It's got attitude with the stance. The billet specialties pop. You've got some billet hardware, even the door handles. And again, with the 67, 68, you get that sleek hot rod look. The interior is beyond just because you went with like a bone white. What was behind that?
I wanted it classy looking, and as my buddy Roger Lee tells me, he said most of the vehicles we build look like redneck money. Big billet wheels, polished wheels, good stance, and we wanted it classed, and that's why we did the charcoal gray, which is a navigator gray, and then the white interior, the bone white. I just thought my wife's a real pretty lady, I better say that, and it's a real pretty lady, and I thought it'd be great for a real pretty lady to be driving. So,
well, you're right. I don't know, I haven't met your wife, but here's the deal. I think a lot of guys run out of money by the time they get around to the interior, or they try to book the interior.
That's a third of the car.
Yeah, and you kept it going. So I think with even the billet, you kind of got a billet glove box. You've got
Ring Brothers glove box. It's got a Spark steering wheel. It's got billet specialties pedals. It's a Snowden seat. I can't think of anything else on the inside. Dakota Digitals.
Vintage air.
Vintage air. Fat boy like him some AC.
Yeah, and then you kind of went with like a little modified console with a floor shifter. But again, it's very classy. I like that you kept the trim ring on the back of the cab, keeping the 67, 68 trim as well. It's just a classy. You did take a redneck style truck and you made it a little bit more luxurious. What was the hardest part of the build?
Selling it to my buddy, because I really damn like this truck. I really like it. We drive it. We drove it a bunch. Last couple of nights has really been fun driving it. The truck drives like $1 million. The new one we're building her is even going to be better. It'll be roadster shopped. It's got a Don Hardy motor, which we normally use exclusively, Don stuff. And it'll be roadster shop. It'll be coilover, stance just about like this one is on airbags. But it's a lot more hand-built truck.
What year is the new one?
It'll be a 67 also.
Okay. Now, when you build a 67, do you find a 67 or do you find a long bed, or what are you doing for parts?
This truck here is kind of funny, because when we bought this truck, this was a customer that was having us build this truck, and then he needed to sell it. So this truck, other than the bare cab, is 100% Golden Star parts. Straight out of the box, every piece, Golden Star, everything fit good. This truck we weren't after the show car deal. We were going to use it to drive, so we didn't gap everything perfect. But it fits pretty dang good for an out-of-the-shop box truck.
So a guy that's been building hot rods his whole life, what's your perspective from, you think about the 80s and the 32s, and then you think about the muscle cars, and now the trucks are in the middle of their heyday, and you find yourself building trucks that we all drove around as kids and that you never even thought would be to the level that they are, let alone 1,000 of them taking over a park. And then you're like, I drove these trucks around as high school kids and as shop trucks, and now you're finding or trying to find the same damn trucks to build $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 trucks.
Man, my first truck was a 70 model. Crashed it right in high school. Ended up with a 76 truck that I built that made right out of high school. Made Trucking Magazine, Sport Truck Magazine. I told my wife, we were dating at the time, when my truck made Trucking Magazine, we'd get married. We got married, been 30 years. But we started in trucks, and then, like you said, then at that time it moved to what was the next thing. Then we wanted street rods. Then we wanted that stuff. Well, at that time it was all fiberglass stuff because we couldn't afford it. And then now we've moved from trucks to street rods to Tri-5s. We got really big into the Tri-5 market. We still are. Now we're going back to trucks. We still got street rods. We still got it all. But, man, it's the great thing I like seeing is like my buddies that are here, they brought their sons and their kids, man. I mean, as we talk, look how many young people are at this event. It's because these things are still affordable to build for a lot of people.
Well, you're right, and keeping it going and keeping these kids exposed. And they look back and they're like, hey, I got drugged to that show whether I liked it or not. But then they're like, oh, yeah, I kind of like those trucks. And your buddy Matt over here, we just had on the pod, he's got that Apache. I don't even like Apaches, and I love that thing. If you could build anything for you, and I don't mean like Kenny's last build, but what's something's on your bucket list that you really want to build?
Well, I actually own one. I bought, because I never could afford one, I had glass 41 Willys coupes, and I ended up buying an all-steel 40 Willys coupe, and that is my number one bucket car to build, my one major that I'll never get rid of car, and it's in the garage now. We've started ordering all the parts from Alan Johnson to do the chassis with and everything, and it'll be a pretty insane build.
Good. Well, that's good, because if you look at your life and you looked at, hey, I was hot rodding and building when I was a teenager, and it struggle's real, right? There's highs, there's lows, there's the economy. It's more of a want than a need. You need a house. You don't have to have a truck. So people, you like this truck, people, the guy's like, hey, I need to sell it. You buy it back. And then to think that your buddy wanted it, that's a great problem to have. When somebody calls you and they want it, that's a great problem to have.
We never get to hardly ever keep any of them, because every one of them, we finished probably 3 in the last 3 years, and we've got one customer who's an unbelievable young guy, and he buys every one of them. As soon as you get them done, he buys them. He wants them, and he loves it. And all of our customers are very good. We don't have one customer that's the nightmare customer. Every customer we've had have been friends and go to events with us, just like Matt, just like Tyler here. Both of these guys are friends of ours and have been friends forever, and we go all over the country to see them.
Funny thing about that is, you think about that, if you've got your friends that are your customers, you must be doing something right, because they're not so pissed off at you that they don't even want to hang out with you on the weekend. What would you say was the biggest, not necessarily trouble, but headache that you learned the most on this truck, that when you build your wife's truck, you will circumvent that or not have to deal with?
I don't want airbags anymore. I'm done with bags. I want coilovers. This Porterbuilt chassis, really nice. Nate did a really good job with Porterbuilt. It drives good, but I want them on coilovers now. I want to be able to just hit the key. I want to be able to run the old deal, bags for fags, mine just drags. I just want it super low. I want it hammered on the ground. I want my wife to be able to get in it and hit the key. I want a real rowdy motor in it, and I want real cold AC. And so this next one will be really rowdy, on the ground, big cold AC, and it'll be a really nice truck for her to drive.
I totally get it. You get to that point where I feel like I too am in my 50s, and you get to that point and you're like,
You're only 50?
Yeah.
Damn.
See, I told you, you're the old guy. So what's funny about that is you do get where you're like, you know what? I just want the reliability, some of those creature comforts. That AC is a nice thing, and you get that reliability. And honestly, like you said, you're putting it on an RS chassis. Well, the hell, this coilover stuff they got now, I mean, it rides so damn nice. I was just telling Matt, you get in a truck with coilovers, it's like getting in a vet now. You can just, and then put the horsepower down and run. So bags are for fags and mine's for drags. Is that what it was?
Bags are for fags, mine just drags.
I think we got a new Kenny Davis shirt coming out next year. You guys can buy it. It'll be available at C10's in the Trailer Park 2025 10-year anniversary.
There we go.
KD Hot Rods. Check them out. And I also got some insight. He was saying he's probably going to be on Oil and Whiskey soon. Yeah. Kenny, thanks for taking time. You don't look a day over 65.
You're the man. Thank you, brother.
I don't know whether you're going to believe it or not, but we got Shane Roberts, TTS, and most of the time I'm going to find something that's done or maybe a little nicer than this truck, Shane. But I was about 50 to 75 yards and I saw this truck and I said, this looks like the truck that was in Arizona that was for sale on Marketplace that I saw you guys haul away from the reunion. 1976, Spirit of 76, Freedom Machine. What is the story and what are you thinking?
I mean, it's going to be a full restoration for sure. It's part of the GM heritage, I mean, it's one of a very limited number that was produced in 76. This one is a four-wheel drive short box, and it deserves to be done right.
It's super cool that you guys decided to buy it and save it. And ironically, I drove in Big Fish's 76 K10 Bonanza, Spirit of 76. His is the baby blue with the graphics. Yours is white with the graphics. I remember seeing it on social and on Marketplace. I think it was about $6,500 to $6,200. Still's got the door panels. The windshield is just beat up. The dash is beat up. There's probably not one panel that is not beat up. The hood looks okay, but when you bought it, what just take us back. Were you thinking like, hey, you don't see these? This is something we need to restore? And
well, I mean, being a squarehead, we already know what the Spirit of 76 is. And when it was sent to me by another friend in another state, and the ad actually read G10 van. Well, the picture was of a 76 short box, so that piqued my interest. And I finally, after a week or so, reached out to the owner and got to talking to him and figured out it was a legit 76. And we made the drive up. It coincided with the reunion. We were able to stroke the deal and swing into the reunion, see everybody before we brought it back to Texas.
Yeah, it's cool that you guys are. Well, here's what's really cool is not only did they buy it, they brought it back. Again, kind of a Tejas, Texas syndicate, the whole group. And then you guys brought it here under its own power. You put new tires on it. You're still running the old school white steel rallies with BFGs. Look like they're about 32, 33s. And you embraced it. You said, no, we're not going to bring it out nice. We're going to bring it out and show off what it really, I mean, you got to think like this thing is almost 50 years old. It's coming up on 50. And some of this character, you're like, how much did the guy drink? Like, yeah. I mean, you had to try to run into something.
So here's the story behind all the dents. The gentleman that we bought it from owns a tow company in New Mexico and Colorado. He got the truck under a tow lien, and when he got it, it had a snow plow attached to it. He kept it for all those years and just used it 6 weeks out of the year to just push snow around the yard. And in 21, he brought it out for the season, and someone laced him up on what it was. So once he knew the history of the truck, he decommissioned it that day, and it's sat in his backyard ever since.
And then finally he just said, okay, I'm not going to get around to it, passed it on. So that's cool on him. And his name's Dennis?
Dennis, yeah.
And it's cool that Dennis decided to do that, and then it's cool that you guys got it and said, you know what, we're gonna save this thing. Because it could have easily, maybe in an era where a Freedom machine might not get quite the love, in a time where this truck would just be cast away to the junkyard or something. So you guys, which is cool because every panel is here. So even though every panel's been through hell and back, at least it's all here and you can prove it. And there'd be a fun kind of not necessarily a documentary, but hey, this is a cool series where we're going to bring this thing back.
Yep. And so the idea is that July of this coming year would be another anniversary for it. So we're hoping to have it at least roadworthy, maybe not in final paint, but have it completed by 26, which would, I mean, next year will be the centennial of it, or bicentennial.
Well, so
50.
Think about, I think actually in 26 would be the 50 years.
So there you go.
So you got a few years to get to that point, and it's a white with the with the Spirit of 76 graphic. And I've seen this graphic when it's not Spirit of 76. They have a limited run. I don't know what the graphic is called. Whereas like Orange Slice is called the Impact.
Yep.
This is more of a wave.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a name. It is a Bonanza, which I love. The door panels are there. The interior is, you have the original Spirit of 76 Freedom Machine seat and upholstery, which you can get. And really, I mean, you can recreate everything else. So you can, what's the recipe? The chassis? How much is getting new?
Full factory. We're going to try to do as little amount as new as possible. We're not going to rework any of the sheet metal. It'll be all OE or, OG sheet metal.
Meaning you're going to buy new sheet metal?
Okay. No, we're going to buy OG sheet metal.
Okay.
No, so we've already been working with Big Fish on it as well.
So you're going to try to get original OEM, NOS, everything, no aftermarket, and then build it. And then what about drivetrain? What about chassis? What about suspension?
Original, it's stock. We're going to do it back stock. It's the truck deserves it.
Wouldn't it be cool too if you could go back to pre-Dennis and find out who had it and what the story was.
How it ended up
Did
in a
Dennis
towing
say that it was this beat up?
No, it wasn't. It was not this beat up. He said it's this beat up from plowing snow in the yard and people backing into snowbanks and not really caring about the truck. You know, it was a tool.
What's funny is you think about, so in 76, whether somebody really sought this truck out or, you know, it just kind of got to be where like somebody's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll buy it, right? Yeah. So then they buy it, and then it's got its heydays throughout the 80s, and then the 90s, nobody wants it, and it gets kind of pushed aside. And then, you know, next thing you know, it's a snowplow where nobody even cares about it. And again, it's just the soul of you bringing it back, and just, it's really kind of a cool story. I love the wheels and how it's almost like you could mob it like this for a while.
Tempting. I'm with you, and so here's the problem. Full disclosure that we have sold the truck to a customer, so he's the one that's basically funding the project at this point. So Seth Walker is the owner of the truck. He is very headstrong, and he wants it done original as possible. So we're still debating on whether we're going to do. There is one set of NOS stripes out we know of, but we're debating on painting them because I guess the originals were prone to cracking like that, and spending the money that he's going to spend, you don't want that happening.
So the Slice has that, and it cracks just like that, and it's kind of cool.
When I told him, you just got to know going into it that you're creating a monster that you're going to have to feed, and this thing may want to stay in an air-conditioned environment the rest of its life. You're
Can I give you an idea, and I'm going to put it on air, and by giving you this idea, I hope that you will reward me.
Okay.
Tell Shane that I want one panel for free for this idea.
Okay.
And maybe you guys have already thought of this.
We have.
But I would say sell each panel to offset some of the cost and give me the Bonanza fender or the door, and because you're not going to keep it. So you could sell these and have fun with that, or let me help you sell them, and we sell the you think about it, there's 6 body panels here.
Right.
Maybe even, come back here, Shane, the coolest one is this tailgate because it says Freedom Machine. Now, I would think that the owner would want to keep that. If not, I got dibs on that. But, or you guys take it and hang it. But to me, you're not keeping any of this metal. And this metal with all of this character, and I mean, we're walking around and there's not one panel that's even close to savable. They're just not. And it wouldn't be worth the time. So you're going to keep the cab potentially, but the doors, the fenders, obviously the bedsides, the tailgate, a lot of fun. Either way, you know, it'd be a cool thing to hang where somebody could be like, oh yeah, dude, that's the 76 Freedom Machine that the guys redid, and I got one of those OG panels.
We have, so right now the agreement is that the owner will get his choice side and then we'll get our choice side.
Yeah.
And we would like to just hang them with some air gaps between them and on the wall in the shop.
You should. That makes me, because you're keeping it, you guys are the one doing it. The hood is even yoked. What's the story? It looks like because maybe the snowplow, it had a little, what we would call in the fire department a bubblegum siren. It's just a smaller, if you think about like a 3 to 4 inch kind of a red whirlybird siren or light that would go.
We still have the lens for it. Yeah. There's so much going on here today that we wanted to make sure nothing that we were able to keep on it was damaged, that the doors are locked. We've had people ask about badges, and I'm just trying to keep it together.
So that will start soon.
Yes.
And you're going to keep the original motor?
Yes. Yeah, we'll keep the original motor. It's going to need some rework. We've got lifter noise, and we're going to put that much money into it. There's no reason to not go through it.
So 350 with the turbo 350, or is it 400? Okay, turbo 350. And then the chassis not pitted. It looks okay?
It's beautiful. That's probably the best looking part on the truck.
Oh, man. So you'll have the chassis, and then will he just kind of stay with like a 2.5 on 33s, or what's he thinking?
We're pretty much looking at what the stance is going to be. Yeah, this is it.
Cool. So hopefully done by mid 70s, 26 for the 50 year. Where can we check it out? Where can we follow the build online?
Follow it on either Tejas Truck Syndicate on Instagram and Facebook, and their owner also has an Instagram. It's Spirit of 76 Freedom Machine.
Okay, so easy money. Any underscores or anything on that? Spirit of 76 Freedom Machine. Tejas, that's his T-A-J-A-S. Oh, okay, T-E-J-A-S.
_truck _syndicate.
Okay. Tejas Truck Syndicate, TTS. Shane, I think this is cool. I'm glad you guys got it. It even looks better just cleaned up than I remember seeing it on Marketplace.
When I saw it yesterday after the washer got done working with it, it looks straighter. I know it's not, but it looks better.
A lot of times when we clean these up, they look worse because you see some of the character, but a lot of character. I love that he kept it. I love that he's keeping it alive. We'll check it out. I'm going to do some photos. Thanks as always for taking time. Love the truck, love the project, love the vision.
Love the pod. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Shane. See you, buddy.
So you bought a C10 and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their sure-fit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
Classic Performance Products, CPP back. Joe, let's talk X10 spindles. Go.
One of our most popular parts through the years has been our 2.5-inch drop modular spindles. Really popular part. Well, we've kind of taken that to the next step. We've emulated late model Corvette, Silverado, Chevy technology into our new X10 drop spindles. They use a steel hub, sealed bearing hub, really strong piece. It's oversized bearings, definitely great for a guy using big brakes, big wheels, which I'm sure all your guys are.
You need a new spindle anyways. You're going to lower your truck. You're running a bigger wheel, a bigger brake. CPP's got it for you with their new X10 spindle. Joe, as always, thank you. CPP, ClassicPerform.com. It's ClassicPerform.com.
Sniper 2. Are you ready to switch out that old carb for a modern EFI system? Well, Holley has a solution for you. The all-new Sniper 2. This new system was redesigned from the ground up. Available in tumbled polished or black powder coat, and there's 3 available tuning interfaces. A classic 3.5 handheld, a 5-inch mountable, which includes a GPS speedo or a Bluetooth module so you can use your smartphone. Another big bonus is the Sniper 2 has a built-in transmission control module. So if you're looking to upgrade to a 4-speed overdrive, 4L60, 4L80, you now can with ease. Holley.com to get started today, Holley.com.
Marquet has been in business for over 40 years. It all started in the original owner's garage. From humble beginnings of a couple parts in a garage to a 2-building manufacturing facility making over 6,000 parts, Marquet has grown to be one of the country's premier truck parts manufacturers. They have made their original parts from the original trucks. All parts are manufactured in-house in Oklahoma City, USA. They offer quality parts built by Americans for old American-made trucks. So when you're looking for body moldings, bed strips, bedwood, and so much more, think Marquet. That's mar-k.com.
Hey, sometimes, even though we're C10 Talk, you get an Apache and stops you in your tracks. Roman's got a 1958 Apache. He's out of Abilene, a.k.a. Leantown. That's it. Roman, my God, this is a beautiful truck. I was going to select you for a pass to go downtown tonight, and it looks like somebody already hit you up, and rightfully so. Tell us about your 58 Apache, brother.
Oh, man, I ended up getting this truck given to me years ago. My dad passed it down to me, and it's been in the family, so it's kind of a family heirloom. And it's got a lot of sentimental value. Nonetheless, started the project probably about 12 years ago, and just been working on it piece by piece, little by little, and it's basically into what we have today. But yeah, it started off as a frame off. Basically, I just blew the truck apart, and with the help of friends and family, I ended up, getting the frame and everything powder coated and all the front suspension redone. It's got a Mustang 2 kit on the front, and then we did a custom triangulated 4-link in the back. I ran AccuAir all the way around, and which is, I like that. It's the first time I've ever run an AccuAir system, but it's great. I'm liking it. In the engine bay, it's got what would be typically an LS3 6.2 out of a 2013 Denali that my son Kobe in Abilene also kind of helped spec out for me and basically put the engine together on paper. And So yeah, I mean it's a cruiser, man. We're enjoying it. I still got a few things I got to work out on it, but at the end of the day, we're just kind of just playing with it right now and having fun coming out and seeing you guys.
Well, I tell you what, rightfully so. I love that it's an heirloom. I love the color. When you get a truck like this and it's handed down to you, you know, how does that build process start? Was it in pieces? Was it in colors? Was it what shape? And then do you go to a rendering? How do you pick the color, the combo, and how do you design that in your head? Do you put some of it on paper? Do you just go with the flow, or how did you kind of work through that 12-year process?
Well, at the end of the day, I was kind of looking. I knew that at some point in time I had to pick out a color, and the fact that it was more or less a factory or a family heirloom, I wanted it to be something special. And the truck belonged to my dad when he gave it to me, and he drove it around just as a work truck. He kept it up and running, but it was just change the oil, make sure it had good tires on it, and drive it every day. And so when it came to picking the color, I had the body flattened out, had everything ready, blocked out, ready to shoot the color on it, and I was kind of confused. I looked at so many different colors and I really was stuck. I didn't know. So what I ended up doing was I went in my shop and I just sat down and just stared at the truck and started kind of, really brainstorming and went to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and I happened to see a classic trucking magazine on my workbench, and it had a 58 Apache Anniversary Edition pickup on the cover of it, which that's always been one of my favorite trucks. That color.
A 68 or a 58?
58.
Okay.
And that's a 50th anniversary color. And I thought, Chevrolet only offered that color scheme on the fleet sides back then as a 50th anniversary. And they two-toned it, and which, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the gold on the top, and then from the body liner, the badges down, it was the honey beige. So I told myself, what if we put a little twist on it? This being a step-side truck, what would happen if we added our little twist and did our rendition of a step-side edition in a 58 anniversary color? And this is what we got: the honey beige on the top, and then the gold on the rest of the truck. And a lot of people thought I was crazy just because they were like, "Man, I don't know, that's a lot of gold." And I was like, "Just trust the process. I can envision it, and then color match a few things like the wheels, and it." I think it came together okay. I get compliments. I like it. Ultimately, I built it for me. I didn't build it for nobody else, but I think it's got a lot of following too. So
yeah, it pops for sure. The one thing you did a good job, so you have the honey beige or off white, because it's not such a strong bright white. It flows really well. Steering wheel even has just enough pop to match the top. You really just kind of brought it all together. And then the one thing that'll always take one of these trucks to another level is your stance, because the way that these trucks are built with, I guess, your subframe that's higher, and then obviously your bedsides are lower, your cab doors are lower.
Right.
This thing's on the ground, and it just gives it that look.
Yeah, it got the trucks are kind of just naturally built with an aggressive stance, I think. I've always thought, and then with the lowered stance, everybody knows, you put a stance on any vehicle and it adds a different attitude. So I think that's kind of what I was going for from day one, and it really adds to it. And like you said, that honey beige, I think it's not a bright white that just reaches out and grabs you. It's just kind of a subtle white, but it kind of complements the gold. So that I didn't do that, and Chevrolet came up with that. These are all Chevrolet colors. Yeah. And
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
So you got your motor. What front drive system? It's beautiful. It's tucked all down in there. I mean, sometimes I look at this thing, I'm like, damn, that thing's low down in there.
Yeah. So I had to custom build the engine mounts and everything, but they're just eBay stuff, really, anything you can order. But the front drive is a CVF kit. I wanted to go with the gold and the black accents, and try to keep that thing throughout the whole engine bay. So that's why it's an aluminum radiator, but a friend of mine Cerakoted it. The boys at Abilene Powder Coating in Abilene, Texas, Chase and Kel, shout out to them, do a hell of a job. But they helped me out on a lot of this stuff that I had, and that's really it, man. Is we kind of went with it, and as I started piecing it together, I knew what colors I wanted to do here, and it made it happen.
So when you think back over this journey, what would you say was the funnest part, and then maybe the frustrating part?
There's a lot of frustrating parts. I mean, because nothing ever just goes together. You know, if you've been around these projects long enough, everything nowadays, a lot of the vendors say bolt on this, bolt on that. Well, it's never the case. You know, so you always end up having a fab or modify something. So I would say just those type of issues along the way were probably the frustrating ones. But the more the good thing, I guess, is positive things was I was able to when I got rolled this thing out of the paint booth. Obviously, it was still blown apart, but just to see the look on my dad's face whenever he seen it on the trailer painted, that was probably the most rewarding. And this was his truck, and when he handed the keys and the title to me, he said, "Do what you want to with it, son." And I had within a matter of days, I knew what I wanted to do with it, and I run it by him. He said, "Just do what you want to."
I think sometimes not necessarily, this is a positive thing with our parents and the traits, but they're like, yeah, cool, whatever, right? But his expectation, I guarantee, was never something like this.
Yeah, he probably had a little different flavor in mind as well, because, at the time he gave it to me, he was probably in his early 70s. So, but at the end of the day, he knew that I loved the truck and I wanted it. So it was one of them deals where, yeah, did he care what I did with it? No, but he also knew that I was going to take care of it and honor it. You know what I mean? Especially the history of the truck. So I just tried to do that along the way.
Do you have a name for it?
Yeah, and it's really it kind of it's crazy because I always call my dad Jefe, which in Spanish, it's like boss man, and that's kind of slang for what all us Hispanics call our mom or dad, Jefa or Jefe. And so the guys in the group that I run around with, they call me Jefe, and I told them, I said, my dad's Jefe. And then so that was where the name came from. We call it Jefe, and it's a whole tribute truck to my dad. So
instead of a 58 Apache, it's the 58 Jefe.
58 Jefe, that's right.
Well, the stance, the wheels, looks like you went with like a centerline style Del with the lip. What wheel is it?
It's a Delmo Special.
Yeah, it looks like it. And then you got the perfect cap. I love how you kept the blue on the cap because, again, it's just those little accents that you pick up. The boldness of the engine bay and the color and the stance. Now, what does it sound like? I kind of want it to sound almost lowrider-esque. How did you do the exhaust?
It's got a set of Magnaflows of 2.5-inch exhaust, and we ran some. I hate to really put this out there, but I'm not completely satisfied with the sound. I'm still kind of tinkering with it, but it's got the HP. It's called a Flowmaster HP, which stands for Hush Pipe. It's
a crossover.
Yeah, it's like a blow through, like a straight blow through, and I really had to do that because of the limited amount of space that I had up underneath the truck, especially with it riding so low. So I chose to go with that just for clearance issues, but it really sounds like a cherry bomb, and which kind of really it actually that's an old school lowrider sound, just an old cherry bomb, but it sounds okay. I just at the end of the day I'm gonna probably change it up eventually,
Well, you've been selected to take it downtown, so I hope you get out of here, and whether you get time to go rinse it off just because we are in the dust and this gold.
Sure. We'll do that.
It's a beautiful truck. I'm glad you got it out. I love the story behind the truck. And what would you say, what's the family response? Not necessarily your dad, your mom, your siblings, your family, your kids. Is this an heirloom that will continue, or what's their perspective on, hey, Dad, you took 12 years to build this damn thing?
Yeah, so my wife she's completely behind me. She has been, thanks to her. And my daughter, she's a typical girl. She's not a gearhead at all. My son, he's all laid up with it. He loves this kind of stuff. At some point in time, he may end up with it. That's probably where it's going to go. So what he does with it at that point in time, when I hand the keys to him, it's going to be just like my dad told me, just take it, do what you want to with it.
Hopefully that's like in 20 years.
Yeah. No, I gotta enjoy it, man. I've only had this thing on the road maybe 2-3 years, so I've got a lot of shows like this I want to hit just to get the truck out and just to get it out and exposed.
Is your dad still with us?
No, sir. No, sir.
At what point you took it out of the paint booth? He saw it then. Did he get to? At what point was he still alive to see the progression of the build?
He got to see. He probably got to see the engine in there. The cab was on the powder coated frame. Suspension. It was a rolling chassis at that point. And I think he might have got to see the bed put together. So he probably, realistically, he probably got to see it about 75% done.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was hard. I'm sure you were trying to get it to a point where, you know, hey, can we take that out for the last run? Yeah. But he's with us. He sees it.
Yeah.
The 58 Chevy Jefe.
Yes, right.
They should have made a Jefe instead of Apache. They should have made that. But I love the truck. Where can we find you guys on social media?
We're, as far as me, I'm just on Facebook. I don't have anything I advertise. I'm just like another average Joe, man. So
what's it under? Like sometimes there's hashtags and numbers.
I'm just Roman Patlin. That's it.
Okay, Roman Patlin out of Abilene, Texas. How do you spell Patlin?
Patlan.
Patlan. Okay, Patlin. Yeah. So no D. Yeah. Roman Patlin, Patlan, 1958 Apache, El Jefe. Love the motor, love the style, love the stance. See you guys out there tonight.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Roman.
Yep.
Hotter than a Pop-Tart that just got out of the toaster. I don't know that I have like a man crush on you, Brian, but I definitely think you as a painter and a builder, there's not many out there that can challenge you. I love your style and I love your vision. I'm glad to see some round eye squares back in the booth. Brian Bastine's paint. You got this little 76 green square here, full GSI chassis. Love the, I don't know, man, this brown, everything. What's the story with this build?
Oh man, a guy out of Florida, name's Rudy. He contacted me about the truck originally because he bought it thinking it was original paint. When he got it home and looked at it, it was the passenger side had been repaired, older repaint on it. So he wanted me to try to see what we could do about it. So we ended up stripping the passenger side of the truck down to bare metal, repaired some rust repair under there, old repairs, cut those out, fixed it, whatnot, and then matched in the passenger side to, you know, make it kind of look like the original paint. Went over everything else, sat and cleared the whole truck, and got it down on the chassis. The chassis is like a bronze color. It's all powder coated to match the wheels. And
did this come from AZ High Test by chance?
Yes,
okay, I think I saw this chassis there.
Exactly. So yeah, it came from there. They plumbed and did all the stuff on the chassis, got it into a roller, and then Rudy brought the cab and motor and stuff, and we just kind of been working on putting it all together. And
do you find as a painter, does that end up being like, whereas let's say High Test ended up, GSI built the chassis, High Test does everything else, gets it as a roller, you've got the brakes, you've got the plumbing, you've got the air management, the exhaust, and then next thing you know, maybe you weren't even scheduled to be the final builder, but because you're doing the paint, it all ends up coming back to you?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he had in line for the final, you know, finish out, but he asked us to do it, so, you know, we did. And all, you know, the trim out and everything, and all the wiring for the motor and all that stuff, and kind of cleaning up the engine bay to his liking or whatever. And so yeah, it's coming to a head. We've still got the bed to do. We've got to raise the bed floor. He's going to do a bed wood in there, and we'll probably do some actuators to lift it so you can see underneath, see the chassis and all that. But
it's almost a shame to cover some of that up. At times you just look at it and you're like, why would I ever cover that up? Because even here today, the stance, it's, you know, all the way down, and you've got the bed off, and it just really pops the whole thing.
Yeah, we're excited about it. It'll be good. And then, you know, the engine bay, he wanted to shift a lot of the focus there and try to clean it up the best we could, and kind of clean up that a little bit. And it's working out. The motors and transmissions all painted bronze to match too, so it's a nice little touch in the engine bay. And we're pretty happy with it. Ready to move on to the bed and get that handled and see what else holds. You know, we may just finish up the interior or send it back to him and he can handle it, or whatever he wants. We're just kind of winging it.
So as a project manager, one thing I want to, before we move on, but you tucked all those AC lines so they come down. They're on the passenger side. If you, for the audience, think battery box. They run under, and then they run in that inner fender well, and then they disappear and go into the firewall. Very, very clean. Is that something you've been doing lately? Is that a challenge?
Yeah, we've done a bunch of these square bodies, and for some reason, depending on the style of what's going on in the engine bay, dictates how we run them and how we route everything. So many different ways to do them, really. Everyone's doing it that way. It's just kind of a twist on it. We built some closeout boxes in there for two reasons. One, it can hold our bulkhead right there, and then on the other side, just to kind of clean up that area too, till it mimics the other side. We ran some wiring through there too, so it really kind of cleans it. It's subtle. It's nothing big. It's not a big deal, but it does work for what we have going on in the engine bay.
Well, I think that when you have a truck like this, you tell me, but when I see a chassis like this that's been really plumbed the way that it is, you have to kind of continue that plumbing, and you're like, well, you can't just run your AC lines, so it becomes a challenge. Do you, as going back to you being a general manager or build manager, is that a challenge because Brian might do it this way, and then you're working with the customer and you're like, listen, I understand, but we got to do it this way to match your chassis and match the flow.
It's actually a joke that we kind of I kept throwing at Rudy, because he's been super lenient on decision making and routes that we're going with things on it, and that's great to have as a shop owner. He listens and really spins off of what I'm saying, and it's been great. But yeah, I always tell him, hey man, you set the tone here. You've got this chassis, and we've got to continue that on through, even though it's a patina truck, So we got to see that through, and just making sure we can do our part. So
I love it, because I don't know that we, let's say for Pod, Brian and I meet 10 years ago, and we start this, and I don't know that we would have ever envisioned seeing something like this, because like Jason at AZ High Test, obviously what GSI's got going, AccuAir, the whole thing, even the exhaust, it becomes such a work of art. And then you're like, okay, cool, we're going to cover that with a patina truck, which you wouldn't even have thought about. And then it's like, but we still have to keep that flow, that vibe, because you started it this way. And he's like, oh, well, I'm not saying for Rudy, but it's like, well, I went crazy and now I'm lean on money or something. You're like, no, that's a problem, but we got to start saving again, because you don't want to do it and then redo it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You just see it through, even if it even if the customer is needs to pace it. You just evolve and do whatever you got to do, and try to, as long as they're happy with what's going on is all. And it's funny when you say that about 10 years ago or so, when we first had met and talk about little things here and there, but it's like I came from a street rod background to where everything was very meticulously placed, and that's evolved, because back even before 10 years ago, a lot of guys weren't putting money in the trucks, so that's a not new thing, but fairly, so it's nice to bring some of the street rod stylings and detail over into the truck stuff. And you can really see it and there's so many good builders out there, and we're specifically known for our paint and body, but we've evolved over the past, I'd say the last 5 years, we've kind of morphed into more of a complete build place, and just because of the demand, customers, growing relationships with the customers, and then trusting us, and then wanting us to continue their project, and not wanting to shop hop, if you will, and because all the shop hop does is get everyone pointing fingers at the other, and so if a customer can allow their project to stay in one facility as much as possible, and especially if they've grown to trust the person that they're dealing with, then that's the best place for them financially, and for the project to make sense and go all the way through. Luckily, with what we received here on this chassis with Jason and them in Arizona, it's good, because you already know what they're going to be pushing. You already know. Everyone knows when they see one of their chassis that who did it. Yeah. So pleasure to kind of be a part of that, start with this, and we'll see it through.
It's funny because I almost wonder, and we need to just have your own pod for as long as we could talk about this, but you almost created a problem, because if I'm a customer of yours, I know the level of what you do, so that's going to make me want to have you finish it. Yeah. And I wonder if there's times where you got into this vortex 5 years ago where they're like, no, just keep it there and finish it. Mm-hmm. And you found yourself evolving from a paint and body garage to more of a complete build. And you're like, I don't know that I ever wanted to do that, but because you're such a high quality, you have the vision and your builder and the form and the fitment and that street rod background. It's kind of a perfect world, because the cleanliness, the mechanics, and you of course know the paint and body. And like we talked about yesterday off air, it's like your paint and body guy can make or break you. Yeah. And so now you guys find yourself being more of a full build shop. Yeah. And I wonder at times you're like, is that good? Is that bad? Or well, I get headaches on one side, but I'm saving headaches on another side.
Yeah. We really try to. We're just trying to do the best we can, and all across the board. The paint thing is a problem for shops that don't do paint in house, because they've got to sub it out. They've got to rely on that said painter to do whatever they said they're going to do, and a lot of times it don't happen or whatever, or they think it's happening, and then when they realize that it wasn't going in the direction they thought it was, or whatever, it's too late, because now they've dumped hundreds or thousands of hours into a project that now, after it's painted, the bodywork ain't so good, and no one knew it, because they didn't know what they were looking at, and the painter was saying that it's this and that, and then it falls short on the quality. And we get a lot of calls from people that have their trucks at paint shops or whatever, and they don't know what to do or whatever.
Yeah, we fix other people's shit, because I do find that you are known for fixing accidents that happen, Mother Nature issues from rust, repair, and you are known, I think, obviously, Jerome up at Street Machinery with Boris, and you, when I think of guys that can really match, there was an old stepper that I fell in love with that you had. It was like a 70 green, and you matched like the front fender, and that from that point on, I was like, this guy's a genius, and I could see where you end up doing that, and people are like, hey, just keep it there. Just keep it there. Keep building it. And like, all right, well, keep sending me money and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we it's funny. Some guys have sent projects, to me from quite a ways out, and it just, I don't know. I love the patina trucks and the look of it, so I naturally study it before I knew it was going to be a thing to actually try to paint it or whatever, and. Yeah, we enjoy doing it. It's a little change of pace, and anytime someone needs that, definitely we try to handle that for them. And there's a couple of different ways to do it, and techniques on it that I've learned along the way. Versus back on that truck that you were telling me about, you remember that was one of the first ones. I was really just winging it there for sure, and then it's evolved from there. Trying different products and stuff to get certain effects or whatever. But yeah, it starts with just loving the look of it in general myself, and then just makes you want to try to do a better job matching.
And I don't even know if that was the forum or right when we went from the forum to Instagram, but I'll tell you what, man, I think you might have even accidentally just like, hey, it worked, and it worked out really good, and it was one of those things. So I think what you got going, your recipe, obviously you're out here at C10's in the park, you got a few different builds, a few different things going on. What do you think? What's the next, what do you see in the next few years in our scene?
Man, I mean, obviously everyone can kind of see the CK truck coming on, and what's funny about that is what's the patinaed CK truck's gonna look like, and
not like a square body or a 6772.
No. And it's the paint process for those trucks is different, and how it weathered was more of a chipping, flaking type look, and to me that's a little bit harder to match, but I'll tell you the good thing about them is the fitment. The fitment isn't as horrible as the square bodies and 6772, whatever. So I feel like someone could paint those trucks nice for a less time and money, So you might see the patinaed ones, but I feel like someone may not go through a lot of trouble to match a patina on one of those, maybe, you know.
Well, I think the difference is, and we're sitting here, and I know we're in an audio setting, but the patina on this 76, not only on the hood, but the cab, you won't see an OBS ever patina this way, where it's down to the prime, it's down to, you know, we've got a little surface rust, and it has a lot of character. There's a 55 Apache wagon coming by right now that, it's got patina to die for. So I just don't think you're going to see that in the OBS. So I wonder if in the CK, if it ends up being where paint comes fully back, because you can't recreate them, and they're a beautiful truck.
Yeah, and the gaps are not perfect, but they're not as terrible as like the square body trucks are and all that. So yeah, it would be definitely more affordable to paint one of those trucks. So yeah, I'd like to see those coming back, especially if guys are going to be getting into those and planning on painting them. And I kind of see some, you know, 80s, 90s graphics, Boyd Connington style, you know, coming back with those. Maybe a smaller wheel coming back on those particular trucks would probably be my guess. I know if I was into one and wanting to build one, that's the route I would go, you know.
Yeah, and I think even that old style with kind of that Vastine, the paint separator stripe that you had on the 81 to 87s, they have that on the OBS trucks. So you see that, and you see the paint, and you look at a lot of the guys will start to get older, and you're thinking, hey, I just want to get in something with the 4657, something that rides real nice. And we know those cabs can be really nice, and the AC works good. So you're like, all right, let's get in this sucker and let's go.
Yeah, it's about as modern as the quote unquote older truck, you know, is. And so yeah, and that's why I kind of shifted into an 87 personally, you know, because it's comfortable, a little bit roomier, and you know, has the more modern touches to it, fuel injection and power window, power lock kind of thing, you know, just more comfortable.
Yeah, creature comforts for sure. The tan and white that you had at LST probably like 5 years ago, was that yours, and do you still have that truck?
So that belonged to a customer out of Austin. His name was Chris Burrell, and we built that truck for him a while back. That was on a stock chassis that Infamous Metal did, 4-linked it, and then that was actually Chris's truck when he was 16. Oh, wow. And so we redid that or whatever, and then he held on to it, showed it for years and years, and then he wanted to part with it. I think I bought it. I think I had it for about a year, and then I sold it to a local guy that just had a couple of square bodies. So I figured it'd be in a good home, and so it's still around. Just he don't show it. He just drives it here and there. Yeah.
Well, I love the term crisp and clean and a little caffeine, and your style, your flow, your vision. Rudy's got the right guy behind it, Rudy. So I hope that you know that. Does he have a name for this truck, and when do you think it'll be done?
Yeah, not that I know of. As far as name goes, we might have to ask him about that. But yeah, I mean, I figure probably another couple months, and we'll be wrapped up. We just got the bed to do, and then I'm going to get with him about the interior, see what he wants to do. If he just wants to keep it kind of OE clean, we'll just do it in house. If he wants like more of a street rod interior, there's a few different guys that I may refer, or maybe he may even have someone at home in Florida. So either way, up to him.
It's one of those things, like even your 73 C30, it even gets down to carpet, where when you have a truck this well, you kind of have to have upgraded carpet. You can't just be buying, some one-piece carpet thing. So it starts to evolve for you guys. Just know that if you're going to spend that money, you kind of have to have that vision all the way through. We know you had a few hot days out here. We're glad you came out. We're always glad to see you. Love the truck, love the build. Family's getting bigger. Brian, again, a big fan, a lot of respect for what you do and how you do it. Thanks for taking time, brother.
Yes, sir. You too, man. I appreciate you.
Taking it out. C10's in the park. Remember, that's 9 years, and they're going to have the big 10 next year. So C10 10-year anniversary in the park. C10's 10-year. Yeah. Make sure you make it out to that one. All right. Tons and tons of content. You've got Apex Leather. You've got Josh Rosen. You've got Chad Day, local Napa owner. And then before that, you've got Norris Marshall, Blueprint Engines. So in the last, 5-6 episodes, there's been a lot of content. After 300, I'll probably take a little break. I've got some different events that I'm going to do personally, and then I really need to see if I can get this truck going here, the 1976 K25 GMC, aka Big Sky, for the get down. It's just one of those things where I always let other things get in the way, like pod and life, and that's okay. I know you guys know the feeling, but I would like to get this thing rolling and get it over there. So obviously we appreciate all the support out there and hospitality in Texas. So Terry, the crew, all the different participants, all the people that are throwing you waters, beers, and anything else as you're walking around the event, interviewing people and talking to people and catching up with folks. We do appreciate the hospitality. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed 299. Have a great week. Late.